This video is going to have a look at factorizing expressions that have 4 terms in them. So by the end of the video, you'll be able to factorize an expression with 4 terms. The method that we use to complete this factorization is known as the grouping method. So the 4 steps to complete. The first step is to remove any common terms. The second step is to rearrange and group terms with common factors. Once we've rearranged, if needed, and grouped the terms with common factors together, we can factorize each group and then write our final answer in factorized form. So with a lot of these factorizations, the steps won't make a lot of sense until we've seen some examples. So we'll go through some examples and show you how you can apply these 4 steps to complete the factorization. So in our first example, we want to factorize x minus 2y plus ax minus 2ay. So the first step, remove any common factors, which we don't have any. So we can go ahead and move on to the second step, which is to rearrange if required and to group terms with common factors. So when you're starting out, the best way to group is based on how they're grouped in the question. So here we've got x and we've got minus 2y, and we've also got ax minus 2ay. So we'll start off with those 2 combinations as our groupings to see whether we can complete the factorization. So we've got x minus 2y in one group, and we'll put that into a set of brackets, and then we've got plus ax minus 2ay as our second group, and we'll put that into its own set of brackets. So looking at step 3, we want to factorize each group. So I've got x minus 2y, which I don't have any common factors, but I can take out a common factor of 1. So taking out the common factor of 1 is going to be 1, and then inside my brackets, x minus 2y. And then looking at my second term, I've got ax minus 2ay. I can take out a common factor of a, because I've got an a in both of those terms. So that is going to be plus a, and then x minus 2y in a set of brackets. So when you've done this step, now's the opportunity to look to see whether you can complete the factorization. You can complete the factorization if you have the same terms inside of your brackets. So here we've got an x minus 2y, and then we've got an x minus 2y. Because we've got this same term inside the set of brackets, we can proceed with our factorization. If we didn't have the same term inside of our brackets at this point, we need to go back and have a look at our groupings again and try a different combination of the groupings. So to finish off and write in factorized form, we take the x minus 2y and then we write it first. So x minus 2y in our first set of brackets. Then in our second set of brackets, in our factorized answer, we're going to write what is left. So writing what is left, I've got a 1 plus a, and that's what goes in my second set of brackets. So my factorized answer for x minus 2y plus ax minus 2ay is equal to x minus 2y in a set of brackets, 1 plus a in a set of brackets. So this factorization, while you're getting the hang of it and be able to identify the groupings, it may be a little bit of trial and error. Get to step 3. If you don't have the same set of terms inside of the brackets that you factorized, then you need to go back to step 2 and have a look at your groupings and try a different grouping combination. So let's have a look at a second example. In this example, we have got x squared plus 2x plus 4x plus 8. There's no common factors across all of my terms, so I can't remove any common factors. So now I'm going to go ahead and group and rearrange if needed. So I'm going to group again based on the groupings in the question. So my first group is going to be x squared plus 2x. My second group is going to be 4x plus 8. So now that I've got my 2 groupings, I want to go ahead and see if I've got common factors that I can remove to be able to factorize each of my groups separately. So looking at my first one, I have got x squared and plus 2x. So I've got a common factor of x between both of those terms. So I can remove that x, and it is going to be x and then x plus 2. And then looking at my second term, I've got 4x plus 8. So I've got a common factor of 4 that I can remove. So that is going to leave me with 4 and then x plus 2 inside my brackets. So now I need to check to see whether I can write in factorized form. And I've got an x plus 2 that's common across both of my groups. So I can write my x plus 2, then have a look and see what is left. And I've got x plus 4, so that goes into my second set of brackets. So the factorized answer for x squared plus 2x plus 4x plus 8 is equal to x plus 2, x plus 4. So let's continue having a look at a third example. This time it is going to be x squared minus 4x minus 3x plus 12. In this example, I don't have any common terms that I can remove. So I can go ahead and group them now into two separate groups of terms. So my first grouping, based on the order in the question, is going to be x squared minus 4x. And then my second grouping is going to be negative 3x plus 12, because the sign in front of the 3 is a negative. So I can group that into plus and then negative 3x plus 12. So now going ahead and factorizing each of those groups that I have created. The first one, I've got x squared and 4x. So I've got an x that's common between both terms, which I can remove. So it's going to be x, and then inside my bracket is x minus 4. And then I've got negative 3x and 12, and I've got a common factor of 3. What I'm going to do is not take out my common factor of 3, but I'm going to take out my common factor of negative 3. Taking out my common factor of negative 3 is going to turn my plus 12 into a subtraction, which matches what is in my first set of brackets. So when I take out the negative 3, so negative 3x divided by negative 3 is going to be x. 12 divided by negative 3 is going to be negative 4. So outside my bracket, I've got a negative 3. And then inside my brackets with my factors that are left is going to be x minus 4. So now I can look at writing in factorized form. I've got an x minus 4 inside both sets of brackets. So that is going to be my first set of bracket in the factorized form. And then having a look at what is left, I've got x, and then I've got a negative 3. So I can write it as x minus 3. So the factorized answer for x squared minus 4x minus 3x plus 12 is equal to x minus 4, x minus 3. So let's have a look at example number 4. And this time our expression is x squared plus 3x minus y squared plus 3y. So having a look for any common factors, which we don't have. So moving ahead with our grouping based on the order that was given to us in the question. X squared plus 3x is my first group. And then my second group is going to be negative y squared plus 3y. So having a look at factorizing each group, x squared plus 3x, I've got an x in common. So x and then x plus 3 inside my bracket. And then for my second group, I'm going to take out my negative y. So I've got negative y, and then that leaves me with y minus 3. So when I go and have a look at seeing if I can complete the factorization, this time I don't have that common factor that I have left. I've got an x plus 3 and I've got an x minus 3. So that means I can't proceed with my factorization. So what I need to do is I need to go back and have a look at my groupings and rearrange the equation to come up with different groups back at step 2. So going back to step 2, I want to have a look and rearrange. So I've got some groups with common factors in them. So having a look, I've got x squared and I've got a negative y squared. So I'm going to try grouping those two together. So I've got an x squared plus y squared. So I've got x squared minus y squared, and then that will leave me with 3x plus 3y. So now that I can see that in my first group I've got an x and a y, in my second group I've got an x and a y. So I might have better luck with this grouping to be able to proceed with my factorization. So looking at factorizing each of those groups that I've now created, I've got x squared minus y squared, which using our difference of two squares is going to factorize as x minus y, x plus y. Because the square root of x squared is x, square root of y squared is y. So go back and have a look at the video on factorizing using the difference of two squared method if you're not sure how that factorization was completed. So I factorized my first group, second group, 3x plus 3y. I can remove a common factor of 3. So I write my 3 on the outside, so 3x plus y. So now having a look to see whether I can go ahead and write in my final factorized form. If I can complete my factorization, I've got an x plus y and an x plus y in both groups. So I write my x plus y as my first set of brackets in my factorized answer. Then having a look at what is left, and what is left is a x minus y and a plus 3. So I'll write those terms inside one set of bracket. So I've got x minus y plus 3 in my second set of brackets. So you can have more than one term inside of a set of brackets. If you've got that common term, you can factorize. So the factorized answer for x squared plus 3x minus y squared plus 3y is equal to x plus y in the first set of brackets and x minus y plus 3 in the second set of brackets. So let's have a look at one last example. I've got 6rt minus 3st plus 6ru minus 3su. So having a look for a common term, and this time I've got a common term across all 4 terms in the original expression, and that is 3. So I can divide each of my terms by 3. So that now leaves them with 3, and then 2rt minus st plus 2ru minus su inside my set of brackets. And what I do is I focus on the 4 terms inside of my set of brackets, and I leave 3 on the outside for the moment. So looking at grouping or rearranging if I need to before I group of those terms inside the brackets, I've got 2rt minus st as my first group, and in my second group I've got 2ru minus su. So I've got those 2 groups inside my brackets, and my original common factor of 3 sits on the outside. Now having a look to see if I can factorize each group. So I've got 2rt minus st, so I've got a common factor of t that I can take out. So that leaves me with t and then 2r minus s. And then in my second group, I've got 2ru minus su. So I can take out a common factor of u, and that leaves them with u and then 2r minus s. Don't forget you got the 3 that carry forward that sits on the outside of that groupings. So then having a look at writing in factorized form, I've got 2r minus s that's common between both of my groups. So I write 2r minus s. Having a look at what is left, excluding the 3 that sits on the outside, I've got t plus u. So t plus u goes into my second set of brackets, and then that 3 stays sitting on the outside. So the factorized answer for 6rt minus 3st plus 6ru minus 3su is equal to 3, 2r minus 6, t plus u. So those are some examples of factorizing 4 terms using the grouping method. Normally students do struggle with this method a little bit, so make sure you're spending some time, work through the practice activities, check your solutions after you've done a couple, don't wait until the end, and then making use of the maths-based activities to provide you with some extra support as you are learning how to do this type of factorization.